Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 17th, 2025, and Deco is considering filing a lawsuit against Victor Font. Also, speaking of Deco, he met today with Ronald Araujo's agents. I'm going to tell you the result of that meeting. And finally, Barcelona are considering the contract renewal of Hansi Flick come this summer. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where we discuss Barcelona news. And where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. It's not to be confused with the Barca News post-match live analysis, which are also live and where I also get to interact with you people, lovely people. For the exception, of course, it's where we analyze matches. Now, speaking of analyzing matches, tomorrow we have a big match against Getafe, so there will definitely be another live tomorrow after the Getafe match ends, hopefully to celebrate another Barcelona victory. Now, having said all of that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to go Kids, Get Bag, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool discounts and offers. All right, let's start with the news. And the first one is it's a big doozy because, ladies and gentlemen, Deco is considering legal action against Victor Font if he does not withdraw the statements that he made about Deco in regards to the signing of Vitor Roque. Now, I did do a video yesterday, as if you haven't seen it or if you're not informed yet. We know Joan Laporta held a press conference on Tuesday to discuss the whole Dani Olmo, Pau Victor's registration, the Nike deal, all kinds of things. And yesterday, Victor Font held his own press conference where he responded to Joan Laporta, to what Joan Laporta had to say. And when he raised, I thought, some pretty interesting questions. And in fact, I made a whole video about it. Again, if you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. I go over the several statements that Victor Font made. And well, one of the statements was about the signing of Vitor Roque and Deco's involvement in it. And this has caused some discontent, let's put it that way, with Deco because he is now considering legal action if Victor Font does not withdraw his statements. Now, what did Victor Font say? This is what he said initially about the whole signing of Vitor Roque. We had Margiu. There was no fair play, and we signed Vitor Roque. If we saw that he was the new Ronaldinho, we understand him and prioritize talent. But it is evident that he does not have the characteristics to play in Barca. Deco had offered him to the club when he was his representative. Jordi Cruyff and Matteo Alemany said there was no fair play and it was not a priority. The first thing Deco did was sign Vitor Roque as soon as he arrived. Now, so far, nothing bad, right? Vitor Roque just pointing, sorry, not Vitor Roque. Victor Font just pointing at a huge blunder by Barcelona. First, signing a player that was supposed to be the new Ronaldinho. And, I mean, he's not even the new Malcolm. I guess that was another failed signing. And also pointing at the fact that, look, Matteo Alemany, Jordi Cruyff, they understood there was no financial fair play, so they decided not to sign Vitor Roque. And then Deco comes and we sign him, which, again, as I've said before, I think it's another blunder just like Dani Olmo's. The only difference is that with Vitor Roque, he didn't work out, right? Because when we signed Vitor Roque, there was no financial fair play. We had no plan to register him, and he gets registered in the place of Gabi, who was injured. Gabi's now back. So how would we have registered Vitor Roque? We don't know, right? But, of course, we got lucky, and Vitor Roque ended up getting loaned, so we kind of dodged a huge bullet there. So far, we're good, right? Victor Font just pointing at a huge blunder by the club. So everything fine. No grounds for lawsuits. Now, the following statements is what is causing the whole drama. Now, this is what Victor Font said later on. He said, what is not normal raises suspicions. Let them come out and explain it. If Barca planned and was transparent, there would be no fuss like what happened with Barca Studios or the signing of Vitor Roque, since it is not known what interests were behind it. So pay attention to this last sentence, since it is not known what interests were behind it. Now, the beginning of the statement, again, not a big deal. I think Victor Fon pointing at another problem with John Laporta's board of directors is that we have no transparency. We don't know what goes on. And even when they come out and say, explain what goes on, it's still like a half explanation. We don't get the full details. So far, we're good. But then he says that last statement that we don't know what the interest behind it. In other words, hinting that Deco had some kind of interest behind the signing of Vitor Roque, like maybe a commission that he was supposed to get or something like that. This, of course, has not sat well with Deco, and as such, he has taken legal action. He has contacted his lawyers, and his lawyers have pretty much gave Victor Font a warning. Retract your statement or we'll file in a lawsuit against you for defamation. Now, here I agree with Deco. I think the last statement about the whole interest behind things, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. The Vitor Roque blunder is a huge blunder. We all see that it's a blunder. We all agree that it's a blunder. If you want to come out and criticize that blunder, that's fine. Nobody's going to say otherwise. Nobody's going to say that Vitor Roque signing is a success. We all know it's not. We wasted money on a player that took Xavi 5 minutes to figure out he wasn't good enough and took Flick 2 minutes to figure out he wasn't good enough. So we can all agree that it's a blunder. But then you go and say, well, we don't really know what the interest behind it, hinting that, some kind of personal interest of Deco to bring them, maybe a commission. So that's where you went too far. You went too far because if you have evidence that Deco was set to receive maybe a commission or some kind of special interest, and that's why he insisted on signing him, then fine. Bring it forward. Say, look, this is what Deco did. Here's the evidence. But if you don't have any evidence of that and you're just saying it just for the sake of saying it, that's not okay. That's not okay because that's defamation. You can't just go around making accusations without any kind of evidence. So in this case, I agree with Deco. And I think Deco is within his full legal right to bring a lawsuit against Victor Fon because, again, you can't go around defaming people saying or hinting that they might have done something illegal. Now, of course, there's also the point of the fact that Deco was not ever the agent of Vitor Roque. It was always Andre Curie. So Deco's always Deco's also holding on to that argument. I don't think there's much to that argument. I mean, you don't have to be the agent of a player to offer him to the club. It happens all the time. There's always third parties or intermediaries who go to a club where they have contacts and be like, hey, there's this player. Do you guys want him? And then the club said, okay. And then that third party goes to the agent and is like, hey, they want you. Like, come on. So just because he wasn't his agent doesn't necessarily be that he had no involvement as far as offering to the club. But again, Victor Font, you can't go around making accusations without any evidence. And again, that was totally unnecessary. Like, if you want to point at the blunder of the signing of Vitor Roque, fine. We all see it. We all know it's a blunder. We all agree on it. But then going around saying things like that, you got to be careful what you say, especially when you're a public figure. You can't just go around defaming people. You can't just go around, saying things you have no proof of or no evidence to back, because we live in a legal society. In a legal society, people have the legal right to sue you for defamation, and I think Deco is within his total right to sue. Anyways, I want to hear you guys' opinions about this whole debacle. By the way, it's a shame too. Like, come on, Victor Font, you should have thought about this too. It's a shame because this only pits people within the club against each other, right? Deco's our sporting director. Victor Font is a soci, a former candidate, possibly a future candidate, most likely a future candidate. Now we have infighting within the club, and it just doesn't look good for the club, for people looking outside in. Like, oh, look at these Barcelona people. They don't have their shit together. Look, they're fighting each other. They're suing each other. It's not a good look. So Victor Font, not only should you have not said that because it's defamation and you have no evidence of it, but also you should have thought about what that would cause, which not only opening yourself for defamation lawsuit, but you're also hurting the club's image because, again, now we have two Barcelona people suing each other. And, think, my friend, think before you speak, because words have legal consequences. Words are very important. And I mean, I can attest to that as an attorney. Words very much matter. All right, let's go back to let's start with the comment section, since we haven't even started with the comment section, and then we'll talk about the meeting with Araujo, since we are talking about Deco. But let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section, and let me put my glasses on because I'm an old man. not a funny guy. I'm sure you're funny, my friend. I'm sure you're funny. Says Mo, what's up? I have to ask on a scale of 1 to 10 how likely it is that we are going to sign Rashford. That's a good question. But there's a lot of moving parts, right? Uh, Barcelona want Rashford on the loan again before people get all crazy. Um, Hansi Flick has greenlit it. He said, okay, bring him. I think I can use him. Rashford wants Barcelona. So far we have 2 ticks, right? 2 checks. The problem is going to be, 2 problems. A, Rashford has to reduce his salary because Barcelona is not going to pay, I think it's like 13 or 14 million in salary. That's net. For Barcelona, it would be double, right? Because half of it, it's half the taxes, half to the player. So if net it's 14 million, it's 28 for Barcelona. Barcelona's not going to pay 28 million for Rashford in salary. So A, Rashford's going to have to reduce his salary. And even once it's reduced, Barcelona still have to clear a salary to replace it with Rashford. So that means either selling Eddie Garcia to Real Sociedad or Girona, or maybe sending Ansu Fati on the loan. But they're gonna have to figure out. So there's 2 other requirements, right? We have 2 out of 4. Player wants to come. Barcelona wants him. We still need to. He needs to reduce his salary, and of course, Barcelona need to. So if I were to put a number on it, I don't know, 6.5 out of 10. I mean, that's a difficult question because in football, anything can happen. You can think a player is going to sign 100%, has an agreement in place, flies all the way to Barcelona, and then turns out they're not going to sign him. By the way, this happened with the basketball player. Another Jean Laporta blunder where I forgot the basketball player's name. They negotiated with him. They agreed to sign him. Jean Laporta approved it. The guy flies, literally lands in the airport of Barcelona, and no one shows up to pick him up. And then I guess because he had links to Madrid, all of a sudden the club had changed their minds and never bothered to tell him. So, anyways, in sports and football, these things happen all the time. So I can't really put a number, but I guess if I have to, gun to my head, I would say 6.5. Curtis Charles says, Victor, don't mix truth with lie, and that's political strategy. I do not trust Font. I mean, I'm not going to say I trust Font, but I also don't have a reason to distrust him. I mean, he's a candidate. Well, unofficially yet, because the election haven't started. He has to say what he has to say. At the end of the day, they're all politicians. The same way I don't trust Jean Laporta 100%. I don't trust Victor Font 100%. You shouldn't trust any of these people 100%. They all have their own agendas. They all have their own interests. And as I've said before, which, by the way, it brings me to a very important point. If anyone can solve this mystery for me, I would be deeply grateful, because to this day, I haven't been able to crack it. And the mystery is I'm very curious about why certain part of the Barcelona fan base gets so triggered when I criticize someone that works at the club, right? Last season, it was Xabi. No matter how bad the team did, no matter how many thrashes we received, no matter how many losses we received, no matter how many points, whenever I said something about Xabi, people would lose their shit, right? This season, it's Laporta, right? Whenever I point at a Laporta mistake or criticize him, people lose their shit. I mean, they go wild. They start hurling insults. Mo, you're a hater. You're a Madridista. Someone said, Mo, you're a disgrace to Barcelona. And I was like, wow, disgrace? Really? Sounds like a little bit of an overreaction, but okay, whatever. So I guess my question is, what's so horrible about pointing mistakes of Laporta that invokes that kind of reaction from people? Like, is he a family member that I'm not aware of? Because, I mean, these reactions are like, you would think I'm here insulting these people's mothers. So if you guys can answer that question, that'd be very helpful. Because when it comes to players, we can all point at when a player has a bad performance and be fine with it, right? Let's take, for example, Rafinha. He's been doing amazing the whole season. Semi-final against the Athletic Club de Bilbao in the Spanish Super Cup. He had a bad match. We all came here. We said he had a bad match. We moved on, right? But when it comes to Jean Laporta, we say, hey, look, he did something bad. All of a sudden, oh, he's been doing good things. You can't say that he did something bad. And I said, yeah, he did a good thing. He has done great things. That's true. But doesn't mean we ignore the bad things that he did, right? It's the same with the players, right? Rafinha has been doing great. Doesn't mean that we can't say, hey, he had an off match one time. So if you can differentiate and apply that kind of argument to players, why can't you do it to people who work at the club? You know, like why is there a gap in logic there? Unless you have some kind of blind loyalty to Laporta, which in that case, that's a problem. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. No one, no one at the club should ever get your unconditional support. Nobody, not the president, not the board, not the coaches, not the players. Nobody, absolutely nobody. The only thing that should get your unconditional support is the club itself, FC Barcelona. FC Barcelona receives my unconditional support all the time. I'm going to be a Barca fan no matter what happens, whether the club is doing great or bad, whether we win a treble or whether we go trophyless, right? The people at the club, they're not going to get my unconditional support. The people at the club, they don't get my blind loyalty. The people at the club get my support if they're doing a good job. If they're doing a bad job, they're not going to get my support. They need to get out, right? If I were to support everybody at the club unconditionally, I would be here telling you, hey, let's renew Ferran, right? Because we have to support him unconditionally. No. Ferran sucks. He needs to leave. If he all of a sudden has a transformation and becomes amazing, then he gets my support, right? Same thing with president, right? If I were to support every president unconditionally, I'll be here telling you how great Bartomeu was. And obviously he wasn't. So I don't understand. Again, if you guys can explain it to me, same thing. So to answer your question, Curtis, I don't trust any of them, honestly. They can say whatever they want on the mic, come out and promises the world. I want to see action. And if you're doing good things, if you're helping the club grow, if you're helping Barcelona continue to be great, you'll get all my support. You start doing bad things, you need to get out. And that should apply to everyone. So if anyone can answer me why people get so triggered when I say things about Laporta, please help me understand. All right, let's get back to the news. Speaking of Deco, let's talk about the meeting with Ronald Araujo, because today the sporting director met with the agents of Araujo. Now, in yesterday's video, I told you about how there was a pending meeting, right? Araujo had made up his mind. He was going to leave to Juventus. He had informed the club that he wanted to leave to Juventus. And then with the injury of Iñigo Martinez, Deco acted swiftly. He met with Araujo and he convinced him to stay, at least until the end of the season. However, there was still the matter of his contract renewal. And that was pending a meeting with the agents. Now, yesterday, as you saw, the video title was "The Saga is Not Over," because it wasn't, right? The club still had to formalize the contract extension with Araujo's agents. And there was some, I don't want to say animosity, but the club weren't too happy with Araujo's agents. They feel like they're not necessarily handling Araujo's career to their best of their ability. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That could be just the club's feeling or whatever. But that was a sensation within the club. So they were still worried. They were still worried that perhaps once they met with the agents, things were going to go haywire, and then Araujo would end up leaving at the end of the season, because we knew he's staying at the end of the season for sure. But of course, Barcelona want him to stay past that. They want him to extend his contract. They think he's a very important player, and he want him to stay for many more years. So they knew, based on a meeting with Deco, between Araujo and Deco, that Araujo was going to stay until the end of the season 100%, but they weren't sure whether he was going to stay past the summer. Now, today, Deco met with the agents, representatives of Ronald Araujo, and it looks like it was a very, very positive meeting where everything was cleared and the air was cleared. Kind of bridges were mended, let's put it that way. And both parties took important steps towards the contract renewal. Now, the contract renewal is not over. There's still final things that they need to formalize. However, the meeting went so positively, can't even speak anymore. The meeting went so positively well that both parties, and when I say both parties, I mean Deco on one hand and Araujo's agents on the other hand, left that meeting feeling very confident that Araujo is going to commit to the club for many more years. So, again, final details have not been completed, so we still don't know the terms of the contract. We know that Araujo wants a higher salary that commensurate of his status within the locker room. And we know he also wants a lower release clause. We know those are the terms. We don't have the exact numbers because, again, the final numbers have not been finalized. But a very big, huge leap forward where both parties have walked away from this meeting feeling confident that Araujo will stay at the club past his contract expiration of 2026. So definitely good news because, like I've always said, Araujo, to me, is one of the best center backs in Europe. I want him to stay. So it looks like he is going to stay. Of course, we'll wait for that contract to be announced. And they're saying that the meeting was so positive that the contract renewal could be announced as soon as next week. We'll see if that happens. See if that happens. We've heard that before. Oh, we're gonna announce it tomorrow, next week, next month. 10 years pass by and we don't hear anything. But the good news is that very important steps have been taken in this meeting, and it looks like Araujo will be staying. Now, of course, I would rather celebrate. I don't want to celebrate yet. I'd rather celebrate once ink is on paper and everything is official. But definitely good news. All right, let's do more comments. Selvin says, hopefully we face Madrid in the Copa del Rey soon, or in the finals we go in to beat that ass. You know, that's funny you say that, because yesterday I was texting with my friends about the huge robbery, the armed robbery that Real Madrid committed against Celta Vigo. I mean, absolutely shameful. Disgusting. Just fucking disgusting. But we were talking about it, and I said, you know what? I was hoping for Real Madrid to be eliminated, but not anymore. I kind of wish we could play Real Madrid in a Copa del Rey, humiliate them again, and eliminate them from that competition too. I mean, I think that would be amazing. And who knows? We scored 4 goals against them in La Liga, 5 in the Spanish Super Cup. Maybe we could score 6 in a Copa del Rey. And hey, for the return Clásico at Montjuic or Camp Nou or whatever it's played, maybe we could score 7. I mean, can you imagine 4, 5, 6, and 7? I mean, we're talking about, what is that? 22 goals in one season. I mean, at that point, you would have to. I don't know what Florentino Perez would do. I mean, he would have heads would roll for sure. Heads would roll. Ancelotti's would be the first one, and probably some players too. Because can you imagine receiving 22 goals in one season? Now, of course, I'm dreaming now. That hasn't happened yet. So far, it's 9 goals, but why not? Let's hope for that. Sean says, everyone keeps saying Vitor Roque is not Barca material, but he was never given a proper chance. Here's the thing, and this is a little bit of a myth, which I've seen a lot, when people are like, oh, this player is not getting minutes, he's not getting a chance. How do they know he sucks? You don't have to. Coaches can see the players train. They can see how they're doing during practice, and can tell when a player is really bad. This whole myth that a player needs to get minutes on the field to prove whether he's good or bad, it's just a myth. You can still tell whether a player is good or not during practice. And if you're really, really bad, they're really going to see it in practice. And you're like, I don't even need to give this guy minutes because he's so bad. There's other players who are really, really, really good that just from looking at them in practice, you're like, wow, I don't need to give this guy minutes. He's obviously great. You know, I don't need to test him out on the field. I know he's going to do great. And then there's those in the middle who, you know, they might, where you see them practicing, you're not sure. You're like, okay, maybe we'll give them some minutes, see how they do. But this whole myth that you have to feel the player to tell whether they're good or not, that's just not true. That's just not true. You could tell when a player is really bad even through practice. And if both Xabi and Flick decided that he wasn't good enough, that tells me that he wasn't good enough. If it was just Xabi, maybe I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe he's wrong. You know, coaches make mistakes. Sometimes they overlook a player. But he also failed under Flick. So now you're talking about 2 coaches. So now you're telling me 2 coaches got it wrong? I don't think so. And plus, look at what he's doing at Real Betis. I mean, sure, he's kind of doing well for them, but it's also nothing spectacular. And it might be good enough for Betis, but remember, good enough for Betis is not good enough for Barca. Sometimes even excellent for Betis might not be good enough for Barca. There's levels to this game, right? And Vitor Roque is just not it. Not it. Unless somehow, some way, when he turns, I don't know, when he 2-3 years suddenly just explodes and is a late bloomer, maybe. But at this point, today, January 17, 2025, he ain't it. Leon says the signing in itself was political because Madrid signed Endrick, and Endrick probably has a higher ceiling anyway. I mean, it looked like it was the opposite at one point. But it turns out that it wasn't. It does look like Endrick has a higher ceiling. And yeah, I think so. I think that played a part, right? Madrid signs Endrick, and we have to sign somebody. So fuck it. Let's just sign Vitor Roque. And we need to stop doing that because it's a race to the bottom. You can't just be, oh, look, Madrid signed someone, so let's sign one. Oh, they signed two, let's sign. That's just a race to the bottom. You can't base your signing strategy based on what Madrid is doing. You need to base your signing strategy on what your team needs. Hey, what do we need? What position needs to be reinforced? Hey, what player is good for Barca? Not like, let's just sign because Madrid signed someone. It's a race to the bottom. It's just not a good philosophy. All right, let's do the next bit of news since we did talk about defenders. We mentioned Ronald Araujo. Let's start with, actually, we're going to talk about two defenders. Starting with Andreas Christensen, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Barcelona have announced that Christensen has received the green light, and therefore he is available for selection tomorrow against Getafe and for, you know, following matches. And that's, of course, great news. Christensen, to be, I think, is a phenomenal defender, highly underrated. He was very important last season for Xavi Hernandez. I think he could be very important for Hansi Flick as well. It's unfortunate, his injury. I think he played 26 minutes total this season, and then he's been injured for most time. Had to undergo 2 surgeries to fix it. It is good to see that after a very, very long and hard and arduous recovery road, Christensen is officially back. He has the green light. We'll see if he gets some minutes tomorrow. We don't know, but it's good to see that he is back. And it's also important because, remember, Iñigo Martinez is injured, right? So right now we only have, before the announcement, we only had 2 center backs, Araujo and Pau Cubarsí. So now to see that Christensen is back, at least it's good to know that we have 3. And, at least Christensen is there ready to sub in for Cubarsí, sub in for Araujo, rotate with them, whatever it may be. So definitely good news. Now, the second center back I want to talk about is Jonathan Tah, because now that Araujo is likely to renew, it looks like he will be renewing. It's, of course, it opens up a very important question. What's going to happen with Jonathan Tah? As we know, Jonathan Tah has decided not to renew with his current club. He will leave as a free agent in the summer. Barcelona Deco had met with the player on several occasions to convince him to come to Barcelona as a free agent in the summer. Hansi Flick is a big fan of him, and it looked like they had reached an agreement, a verbal agreement, not a contract, a signed contract, but they had reached a verbal agreement for Jonathan Tah to come to Barcelona as a free agent in the summer. But now that Araujo's renewing, is he still going to come? Because now he's going to look, okay, what are the best defenders, if not the best defender in the world, just renewed? We have Cubarsí, who will for sure become the best center back in the world. Am I going to have any minutes? Not to mention, you also have Iñigo and Christensen, 2 incredibly talented defenders. Is he going to get minutes, right? And if he's a free agent, of course, he has offers from multiple clubs. And one of these clubs, Barcelona, is offering you to come, but not necessarily minutes. And these other clubs are offering you to be a starter. You got to have to think about this, right? So this could affect him. We don't know if it will or not. So, of course, I will turn the question to you guys. Do you think Tah will still come? Should he come? Would you like to see him on the Barcelona squad? Yes, no, let me know. Now, if Eric Garcia ends up getting signed to Girona, which it looks like most likely is going to happen. Well, not Girona, but most likely he will leave. And if Christensen continues to insist on leaving, because remember, Christensen was considering leaving because he was doubtful about the minutes he's going to be getting. If the 2 of them leave, I say yes, we should continue to try to bring Jonathan Tah, because then, Christensen and Eric gone, that only leaves us with 3 center backs, Iñigo, Cubarsí, and Araujo. We would need a 4th one, and I think Jonathan Tah is more than capable to be our 4th center back. But again, is he going to want to be the 4th center back? That's, of course, an important question. But anyways, let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about the contract renewal of Hansi Flick. Babukar says, "Hi Mo, it's been a while though due to work. Vizca Barca, I know you will agree with me about Araujo if they are willing to bring Jonathan Tah and pay him around what Araujo is asking." Wait, so what's the question? Is the question, are we gonna bring Tah? I mean, the idea was to bring him. We'll see if the player is going to want to come. I don't know about paying Ta as much as Araujo. I think Araujo is much more valuable. But we'll see. Salvin says people of our club don't take criticism too well. Well, actually, people in general. That's why they hate it when you hold someone accountable in our club. I think so. I think so. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you literally are. I mean, what is Laporta to you? Is he your dad, your uncle? Like, why are you getting so offended? You should see like how upset people get. Holy crap! It's like, guys, chill. I mean, by the way, I'm not saying don't disagree with me. By all means, people disagree with me all the time, and when people disagree with me respectfully, like we talk about it all the time. You can go back and read the comments. It's when people comment just like saying, like just raging, like Mo, you're a disgrace. It's like, really? Because I pointed out a couple of mistakes that Laporta did. All of a sudden, I don't know. Ross says only two people have my blind loyalty, Messi and Mo. Thank you, my friend. But like I said, no one should get your blind loyalty, including me, because if tomorrow, I don't know, I start saying crazy things on here, like Lamine Yamal sucks and he should be sold immediately. And I don't know, Flick is the worst coach in the world. Should definitely stop watching me. Mookie Mookie says, hi Mo, what's the financial status for the club at the moment? How much debt does the club have? 1.3 billion euros. It's huge debt. A lot of it has been refinanced from short term to long term, which was necessary because Barcelona did not have the money to pay these loans back. But it will cost us a lot more, right? Because when you refinance a short loan to a long-term loan, now you're paying it off over a longer period of time, which means you're going to pay off a lot more interest on it. So we're not out of danger. Let's put it that way. We're not out of danger. Yes, we achieved the 1-1. That's great. Yes, for the first time, the club is starting to actually make money because we've been losing money year after year. But we still have a lot of work to do. The club is not out of the danger zone. We still have huge amount of debt. And hopefully the stadium will help with that. Hopefully the new Nike deal will help with that, assuming that the numbers circulating out there are true because they won't tell us what the numbers are. We'll see. The work is not done. And that's why when people, when I see YouTubers or even journalists talking about Barcelona is going to sign Haaland, and I'm like, where do you get that from? Like, are you aware of the financial condition of the club? Like, what are you talking about? Haaland? By the way, Haaland, 9.5 years contract renewal with Manchester City. Absolute insanity, by the way. That's a huge risk that Manchester City are taking because 9.5 years is a very long time. And you don't know how the players, like, you don't know if Haaland's going to be performing at the same level in 9 years. That's a very long, a lot of things can happen, big risk, but hey, oil money, man, oil money. I guess it doesn't really matter to them. Sanjog says, hey, Mo, I still understand what's the point of signing Jonathan Tah next season. We have Inyo, Araujo, Cubarsí. We have some talented academy CBs. I don't either, honestly. That's a good point because, we still have center backs in the academy. We have Mamadou Mbake, who's doing really well. We have, what's his name, Dominguez, who still needs, more maturing, but he does show promise. So I agree. I don't know what is the point of signing Tah. Firaz Deep says, hi Mo, a trustworthy Arabic YouTuber spoke with Laporta in Jeddah. One, he assured him that Nico Williams will not be signed because he's a Madridista. Two, going to try his best to sign Isaac in the summer. I don't know about Nico Williams being a Madridista. I don't think there's any truth to that at all. I don't think he's a Madridista. He's not a culé either. Nico Williams leads red and white Athletic Club de Bilbao. That's his boyhood club. He came up through their academy. He's been there his whole life. His brother has played there his whole career. His family actually works at the club. So I don't think Nico is Madridista. Neither is he a culé. He doesn't have to be a culé to come to the club. He's from Athletic Club, just like Iñigo Martinez. Iñigo Martinez is Basque. Athletic Club de Bilbao is his club. That's fine. We don't need every player in Barcelona to be a diehard culé. As long as you come, you do your job, you represent the team well, that's good enough. But I don't think Nico is Madridista or Barcelonista. I think he's Athletic Club Bilbao. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news. The last bit of news is a short one, but it's good news, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you hate Flick. I don't. I love Flick. But let's talk about Hansi Flick because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are planning to extend the contract of the German coach, but in the summer. They don't want to do it during the season because they know Hansi Flick is 100% focused on the team, focus on the campaign. So they don't want to, get in between that. But they do want to open talks with Hansi Flick to extend his contract in the summer. Now, Flick only signed for 2 seasons, which means his contract expires in 2026. So come the summer, he's only going to have 1 year left on the contract. And of course, the board are very happy with his performance. Why wouldn't they? We're seeing a completely revitalized team. We're seeing completely revitalized players like Rafinha, day and night. He was Rafinha last 2 seasons. So this season, he's Coutinho, right? Lewandowski is about to match his numbers from last season, and we're only halfway through the season. Kunde, he had his blunders during those bad matches in Leganés and whatsoever, but Kunde is now emerging as one of the best, if not the best, right backs. Pedri has always been great, but this season, he is absolutely phenomenal, right? Hansi Flick has revitalized every player. Even Ferran Torres, he still sucks, but hey, whenever he comes in the bench, he scores, so I'm all for it. So Hansi Flick has revitalized every single Barcelona players. He's made them better. He's made the whole team better. So, of course, the club are very, very happy with his performance. Also, when Flick came to the club, he agreed on a low salary because he understood the club's financial situation. So, of course, Barcelona think the fair thing to do is increase his salary. Flick has not demanded that, by the way. He's not asked the club for a salary increase. This is the club wanting to increase the salary of Flick because of the great work he's doing. And finally, they also want to kind of protect Flick because Joan Laporta's presidency will end in 2026. So they kind of want to extend his contract past the presidency of Joan Laporta, just in case if Joan Laporta ends up deciding not to run again, or if he ends up getting beat in the election. They want to make sure that Flick can stay at the club past Joan Laporta's stay at the club because they think, Flick is the right coach to lead this team for many more years to come. And that's the news. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think Barcelona should renew Flick? Yes, no, for how long? Let me know down below. All right, let's do the comment section. Then we will end the podcast. Let's see what you guys are saying. All right. Where did we leave off? Street Fighter says, I still think we should sign Ta because we do not know what happened in the future. Ta is a good player, but it is his choice to fight for a shirt for Barcelona. Fair enough, my friend. And Sean says, hey, Mo, do you have any thoughts about Gabi not wanting to celebrate his goal against Real Betis? I personally have no problem with it. I don't either. Gabi came up through the Real Betis Academy initially, and then obviously he moved over to La Masia. That's where he's from. He's from Sevilla. He grew up in Sevilla. He started out at Real Betis and then moved to La Masia. I don't see any problem with that. Like I said, a lot of people forget that football players are just employees. Like football clubs are just their employers. I see this all the time whenever there's talks about a player leaving. Like, for example, Araujo, like, oh, this disloyal. What the fuck are you talking about? It's a job. What do you mean disloyal? If you tomorrow quit your job, does that mean you're disloyal and you're a snake? No, it's a job. These players have the right to change clubs, to change employers, to look for higher salaries. We all want a higher salary. We all want to work for a better company than our current one. Like this whole thing about loyalties and dude, it's a sport. Like, anyways, I'm not mad at you, Sean. Not being frustrated at you. I was just like, whenever there's a player that's thinking about leaving, people just like all of a sudden turn him out to be like this horrible guy. Like, how dare Araujo want a higher salary? What a snake. What a terrible person. It's like, no, let's be a little bit more mature about these things. All right, let's see. What else? What other comments we have not done? I'm going back, scrolling up in case I missed comments. Let's see. John Williams says, hey, Mo, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for consistently providing the latest sports news on your channel. Your dedication to keeping us updated and informed is truly appreciated. Thank you, my friend. And I want to thank you for actually watching the videos. Because again, if it wasn't for you guys, I'll be just some crazy guy screaming at my camera. I mean, I'm still a crazy guy screaming at my camera, but at least you guys, watch me being crazy and watch me screaming at my camera. So thank you guys for all the support. And let's do the last comment and then we'll end the podcast. But Street Fighter says we should not sign Rashford. We should focus more on contract renewals. The Rashford thing is, to me, is like, I don't know where I'm at on it. Honestly, I'm on the fence. Because if it was a permanent signing, I would say hell to the no. Like, there's no doubt that Rashford is incredibly talented. Very, very talented. When he is focused, when he's at his 100%, he's one of the most lethal attackers in Europe. No doubt about that. But of course, the problem is his performance, right? And I talked about this in the past. Performance and skill, two different things, right? You can be incredibly skilled but have poor performance, or you can be not as skilled and have great performance, right? For example, Joao Felix, incredibly talented, performs horribly. By the way, he's not even, again, he's failing at Chelsea. Incredible. Rafinha might not be as talented as Vinicius Jr., but he's outperforming him in every single facet. I mean, Rafinha is 10 times better than Vinicius. Is he more skilled than him? I don't think so. I think Vinicius is more talented. But Rafinha is outperforming him like in every single way you look at it, right? So performance and skills, two different things. I think Marcus Rashford is incredibly talented, but he's an underperformer. Whether it be his attitude, he's a little bit of a diva, his extracurricular activities, his lack of focus. I don't know. Maybe it's just Manchester United. He's been there for so long, and Manchester United have been going through so much crap that maybe he's just burnt out. I don't know. So if it was a permanent transfer, I'd be like, no. But 6-month loan, if there's no loan fee and he agrees to reduce his salary, I mean, who knows? Maybe Flick can revitalize his career too. Because if Flick can extract the best out of Rashford, this team would be unstoppable. Because we've seen what Rashford can do. When Rashford is at his 100%, he's a killer, man. Can you imagine Rashford at his top on the left with Lamine doing what he's doing right now on the right with Lewy or whoever, with Olmo or Rafinha behind him? My goodness. I mean, right now, we have the most lethal trident in Europe. Lamine, Lewy, and Rafinha. Imagine you add Rashford to that. Add his top form again. He's going to come and still do the same crap that he does at Man U. Go away. But anyways, that's my opinion. All right, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, for your likes, your subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It really helps the channel grow. If you haven't subscribed yet, also hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. I will be uploading another video, so stay tuned to the channel, and we'll see you in that video. And as always, Visca Barça.